Belgian Grand Prix has been a part of the Formula One World Championship since 1950. Juan Manuel Fangio won the first race for Alfa Romeo at the mighty 8.8 mile Spa-Francorchamps road circuit. Ferrari's Alberto Ascari became its first two-time winner in 1952 and 53. Tragically, Ascari was killed testing a sports car ahead of the 1955 edition, for which his protégé, Eugenio Castellotti, qualified his Lancia D50 on pole. But he couldn't stop Fangio from scoring his third Belgian Grand Prix win in a Mercedes. The most brutal weekend in the event's history was in 1960, when Stirling Moss broke both his legs and Mike Taylor suffered career-ending injuries in practice. But even worse was to follow in the race, when Chris Bristow and Alan Stacey were killed in separate accidents within 20 minutes of each other. Jim Clark won 4 straight events between 1962 and 65. Clark's 64 win was handed to him by Dan Gurney's Brabham running out of fuel on the final lap. But this favour was returned in 1967, when a dominant Clark's Lotus hit mechanical trouble and Gurney won in the Beautiful Eagle. In 1968, Bruce McLaren won in a car bearing his own name. In 1969, drivers refused to race at Spa due to the high number of fatalities in recent years. After safety improvements, the track was back in 1970 as Pedro Rodriguez edged Chris Amon by just 1.1 seconds, winning at an average speed of 150 miles an hour. With Spa losing its date on the calendar due to ongoing safety issues, the event moved to Nivelles for 1972, won by Emerson Fittipaldi's Lotus. It transferred to Zolder for the first time in 1973, with Jackie Stewart winning for Tyrrell. Nivelles was back for the final time in 1974, with Fittipaldi winning again, this time for McLaren. Zolder became its home for 8 years, with Niki Lauda winning twice for Ferrari in 1975 and 76. Didier Pironi scored his maiden F1 win for Ligier in 1980. Two incidents involving mechanics blighted the 1981 event, and sadly Acella's Giovanni Amadeo was killed. The legendary Gilles Villeneuve was killed in qualifying for the 1982 race when his Ferrari launched off the back of Jochen Mass's March. The next day, John Watson, one of the first drivers to attend the fatal crash scene, won the race for McLaren. A 4.3 mile version of Spa returned for 1983, won by Renault's Alain Prost. The last Belgian GP to be held at Zolder was in 1984, won by Ferrari's Michele Alboreto. Spa has held the event since, although the 1985 race was postponed by 3 months after the track broke up. Ayrton Senna won the rescheduled event for Lotus. Prost won again in 1987 as Mansell and Senna collided, which led to a post-race confrontation. Senna dominated with McLaren from 1988 through 91. Michael Schumacher halted his streak with his first ever F1 victory, driving for Benetton in 1992. Damon Hill went back-to-back with Williams in 1993 and 94. Before Schumacher won 3 on the trot with Benetton and Ferrari. Hill scored Jordan's first ever F1 win in 1998, a race also remembered for a huge 12-car pile-up and Schumacher's collision with David Coulthard. Mika Häkkinen pulled off one of the greatest overtaking moves of all time to beat Schumacher in 2000 for McLaren. Further wins for Schumacher in 2001 and 2002 put him at the top of the all-time winners list here, one ahead of Senna. Kimi Räikkönen won 4 races in 5 attempts between 2004 and 2009 for McLaren and Ferrari. McLaren's Lewis Hamilton won his first Belgian Grand Prix in 2010, beating Red Bull's Mark Webber. Sebastian Vettel won 3 races there, 2 for Red Bull and 1 for Ferrari. McLaren's Jenson Button was victorious in 2012 after a huge crash at the first corner, for which Romain Grosjean was handed a ban. Daniel Ricciardo won a memorable 2014 race when Hamilton and Mercedes teammate Nico Rosberg collided. Charles Leclerc scored his first ever F1 win for Ferrari in 2019, but the weekend was overshadowed by the death of F2 racer Antoine Hubert. Hamilton won his 4th Belgian Grand Prix in 2020, tying him for 3rd on the all-time winners list with Jim Clark and Kimi Räikkönen.